Hello students, welcome to the second session. As you know, already we have discussed about the motivational theories, especially on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Douglas McGregor's theory X and theory Y. As students, you should always understand the hierarchy, the triangular diagram should be focused very clearly before you go to the exam. That is, the Maslow's hierarchy is divided into two, that is physiological and psychological. I am repeating again, the Maslow's hierarchy is divided into two, one is physiological, other one is psychological. Physiological, there are two main needs, that is basic needs and safety needs. The psychological needs are social, ego and self-actualization. Self-actualization means what a man wants to achieve, he have achieved. In other words, reaching the top of the hierarchy of the needs. When we concentrate about Douglas McGregor's theory X and Y, theory X speaks about the negative impact, negative side of the human, and the theory Y mainly discuss about the positive side of the people. So now let's talk about one of the most important theories under needs approach is Frederick Herzberg's two-factor theory. My dear students, you should always understand very clearly, even in the examination point of view, this particular theory have a slight importance by the examiner to test in the examination questions. Let's now talk about Herzberg's two-factor theory. Herzberg, a management expert who divided his theory into two main factors. Number one is known as the hygiene factors. Number two is known as the motivators. Hygiene factors, also known as dissatisfiers. Why we called it as dissatisfiers? It's because hygiene factors mainly concentrates about the need to avoid pain and discomfort. As we know, the word hygiene mainly refers to pain, avoiding pain, in other words avoiding discomforts. So even in human resource point of view, hygiene factors mainly discuss about the dissatisfaction, how to reduce the dissatisfaction, in other words the discomfort. Therefore, hygiene factors are very popularly known as dissatisfiers. The main elements of hygiene factors are pay, fringe benefits, quality of supervision, and also working conditions. All these are, in our words, we mainly talk about the elements which reduces the dissatisfaction of an employee or a human. The next main heading will be under Herzberg's two-factor theory is the motivator. Once a person hygienically, in other words, once a person who have avoid his pain and discomfort, he need to be improved or need to develop psychologically as a person. So on this ground, we will mainly talk about what are the psychological elements, in other words the motivators which will improve a person or develop a person. Number one is achievement, two is recognition, the next advancement, and the last psychological growth. All these elements are basically talks the psychological impact of the human nature or human behavior. So, as we know now very clearly that Herzberg's two-factor theory talks under main two areas, that is hygiene factors and motivators. Please note very clearly, hygiene factors are avoid pain and discomfort, motivators are develop psychologically as a person. I repeat again, hygiene factors are need to avoid pain and discomfort such as pay, fringe benefits, quality of supervision. Motivators are need to develop psychologically as a person, that is achievement, recognition, advancement, etc. So, as you know, now we have already discussed the most three important needs approaches or needs theories, that is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Douglas McGregor's theory X and Y, and finally Herzberg's two-factor theory. Now let's talk about all these theories put in together. As we know, Maslow divided his theory into two, that is higher order needs and lower order needs. Lower order needs mainly concentrates about the physiological needs. In other words, he mainly concentrates about the basic necessity of the human, where Friedrich Herzberg talks about hygiene factors in this context. He says need to avoid pain and discomfort, which in my concern I will try to equalize the Maslow's lower order needs with Herzberg's hygiene factors. And Maslow's higher order needs, that is the secondary needs, that is the psychological need of human, the Friedrich Herzberg on his two-factor theory, he mainly tried to similar it to motivators. So motivators mainly looks into psychological growth, secondary needs also mainly concentrates about the psychological element of the human. So these two theories, and along with, let's talk about Douglas McGregor's theory X and Y. Theory Y employees are usually, they love to work, they psychologically they are grown. So therefore in our presentation, let's try to make it similar. Douglas McGregor's theory X with Herzberg's motivator as well as Maslow's secondary needs. And theory X employees are employees who do not want to take responsibilities. In other words, they are in the negative side of the human nature. So therefore, we will put that into hygiene factors under two-factor theory and Maslow's lower order needs. So my dear students, when you identify these three, when you are studying, you always need to see the link between these three theories, and you need to understand the similarity as well as the differentiation between these theories, because sections B usually test the difference or the comparisons between Herzberg's motivators with Maslow's secondary needs, or Maslow's lower order needs with hygiene factors of Herzberg's. Now let's talk about the past paper session. In this particular area I have taken section A, the MCQ section. Let's talk about question number 1, that is 2013. Herzberg's dual factor theory involves which one of the following? So as students, you should know very clearly Herzberg talks about two main factors, that is hygiene factors and motivators. When you are identifying these questions, it's very simple. You know the theory, you apply the theory to the question. Simple. As we know, section answer number B, it very clearly says hygiene factors and motivators. Theory X and theory Y is Douglas McGregor's. Low and high power distance, nothing to do with motivation. It is under Gert Hofstede's cross-cultural theory. A characteristic is a different management approach. So the correct answer should be hygiene factors and motivators. That is answer number B. The second one is May 2012. According to Douglas McGregor, managers believe theory X people, as we know very well, theory X people are naturally, they do not like to work, they dislike work, they avoid responsibility. So as per the choices, you know, choice number A, that is naturally dislike work and avoid responsibility. And the last, November 2011, according to Herzberg's motivation theory, which one of the following is the cause of dissatisfaction? So as we know, the cause of dissatisfaction, we know to avoid pain and discomfort is mainly discussed about the hygiene factors. That is section number C. As you see, the correct answers are November 2013, it's B, 12A, and 2011, C. Okay, now let's take a small break, and thereafter we'll join after the break. Students, now as you know that we have already now discussed about two main areas in enterprise operations, that is marketing management and human resource management. Now we are going to talk about one of the most important element in organization point of view as well as the examiner's point of view, that is the operations management. Certain experts very clearly they state that the backbone of the organization is operations, in other words the operations management. Yes, we too need to agree for it. A correct product goes to the market, it establishes in the market, for marketeers it will be very easy to market the product. Finance guys, it's easy to record your profitabilities. Human resource guys, you will know how to select the correct people and how to get the correct job from them, etc. Operations failures will cause very disastrous situation. In certain situations, organizations are compelled to even close down. So now let's talk about what is operations management before we talk about anything else. Operation management can be defined as the activities required to produce and deliver a product or a service. It includes purchasing, warehousing, quality, transportation, etc. So as you know, when we try to talk about the term operations, what is an operation? Operation means conversion of raw into a finished, in other words processed. Unprocessed convert into a process is called operations. So there are several operational activities which takes place around the world. Example manufacturing of machineries, example manufacturing of food items, etc. all concerns under operations. So when we try to talk about operations management, one of the most important element, even in our definition it was very clearly stated, that is quality. Quality is one of the most competitive advantage right now in the world. The definition of quality management involves planning and controlling activities to ensure product or service is fit for purpose. Repeating again, fit for purpose, meeting design specification and needs for customers. So it is a planning process, it's a controlling activity for several reasons. That is, number one, the product or service need to be fit for the purpose. Number two, meeting the design specifications. And number three, the needs according to the customer requirements. So what is quality? Quality mainly defined by several experts, including the greatest experts such as Joseph Juran, Philip Crosby, etc. Now let's talk about the definition of quality. As we know, even in our definition, quality was emphasized. Quality is one of the most important competitive advantage in the current world or in current competition. Joseph Juran, the leading expert with regard to quality, defines quality as fitness for use. So whatever the product which is fit to use, it's considered to be quality. Along with quality, another very important term which was developed by Japanese, especially the leading automobile industry in the world, that is Toyota, identified total quality management. That means it is the continuous improvement in quality, productivity and effectiveness obtained by establishing management responsibility for processes as well as output. For every process there is an identified process owner and they contributes to the improvement. Now let's talk in simple words the definition of TQM. TQM is mainly concentrates about the quality, productivity and effectiveness within an organization concern. TQM also refers something like this. It's a passion for quality that starts from the top, which spread throughout the organization. It is where the top management, strategic management takes the initiatives that their company mission should go in line with the quality. So in this definition, they very clearly states that every processes are considered. Every processes have a process owner. Process owner is identified. Process owner's responsibility is to contribute or is to improve the process, which overall will improve the organization's objectives. Now, TQM, Total Quality Management, have several tools. These tools are very popular among organizations, among operational managers. The 4 tools are considered to be quality circles, Kaizen, Six Sigma, and 5 practices. These 4 tools are examinable. I am repeating again, students, these 4 tools have been tested in the exam, even in section A, B, and C as well. So therefore, your attention to these tools are must. You should identify, you should know the differences, you should know the advantages, you should know the features of these tools. Let's talk about first the quality circles, one of the major tools in TQM. It very clearly says a small group of employees with range of skills from all levels of the organization. The main feature of quality circle is they are in different skill levels, they are in different levels in the hierarchy. There can be a machine operator, there can be a COO, Chief Operating Officer, who is involved in the circle. In other words, they meet voluntarily on a regular basis to discuss quality issues and develop solution to real problems. Please identify very clearly, the meeting will be taking place without a hierarchy, where all these employees work together as a team. The main ultimate objective of this circle is to identify the organization improvement in quality. So now let's talk about the advantages of quality circles. One of the major advantage of quality circle is how can we improve the greater satisfaction, or how can we improve the productivity through quality. In other words, quality will lead customer satisfaction, quality will lead improved productivity. And also the culture, in other words, the quality related culture will be spread inside the organization through these quality circles. That's because different levels, skill levels, different hierarchies of members are involved in this circle. And finally, what happens? The group approach will help to foster the organizational unity, where different sections of employees, different hierarchies of employees, different skill levels of employees will join together to identify the company's major issues. They work together to achieve the objectives through the quality approach. The next one is considered to be the Kaizen. Kaizen is a philosophy. It is considered to be a continuous improvement. The Japanese term Kaizen is considered to be one of the most important element in an organization with regard to quality. Kaizen, in simple English, we call it as continuous improvement. Continuous improvement in all areas of an organization's operation. Students, let's have a small break and we'll join again to see the features of Kaizen and thereafter the other TQM tools as well. For the Japanese term Kaizen, in English it's considered to be a philosophy of continuous improvement in all areas of an organization's operation. The pioneers in Kaizen were Toyota. Toyota mainly improved their productivity. They mainly improved their efficiency in their operations through employee suggestions, and also these employee suggestions were beautifully shared for improvements. Students, please identify very clearly you should understand very clearly the features, advantages, disadvantages, the limitations with regard to the TQM tools, because even in section B, examiner is very clever to ask certain features or advantages in these TQM tools. So on this ground, let's talk about Kaizen's main features. Kaizen involves all level of employees, and always try to give an example to this. Like example, it can be told like this: involves all levels of employees, such as chief operating officer also will be involved in this, as well as the machine operators. The second, everyone is encouraged to come up with small improvement, not limited to a particular area, suggestions on regular basis. Every skill level, different skill level employees are motivated to come with certain suggestions which will improve the whole operational activities in the organization's operations. Finally, Kaizen involves setting standards. These standards are set by suggestions. These suggestions will considered to be a standard within the organization. Organizations need to adhere this to improve the efficiency of the organization's operations. Now let's talk about another most important, even in countries like Sri Lanka, we practice very broadly, that is the 5S practice. 5S means an approach to achieving an organized, clean and standardized workplace. The 5 S's are Japanese terms, which I have put it in simple English, which you will understand. That is sort, organize, clean, standardize, discipline. I am repeating again the 5 main components: sort, organize, clean, standardize, discipline. Sort refers to eliminate unnecessary items. As we know, in certain organizations there are a huge lot of unwanted old files which are piled up, which sometimes takes more space, and also it will have less productivity, and also cost is very high maintaining those unwanted and old files. The next one is organize. That means a structural filing system. Everyone should be able to identify the filing system. In case if the person who is absent, the other person can easily attend to it and he can sort out the filing issue. It very clearly say a place for everything and everything in its place. Third is clean workstations regularly. Of course, it is a vital element that the workstation should be clean, order, where in certain situation outsiders come into your organization, and where even your own colleagues come into your organization or into your department, and you need to have a clean area. The fourth is standardize. As you know, even in our part of the world, certain filing systems we do without a proper alphabetic or numeric order. The 5S approach very clearly states that a filing system should be carried out either alphabetically or numerically, ABC or 1, 2, 3. The final one is discipline. That means all the 4 above what we have already practiced, we should not stop it and go back to the old habits. Please note, starting sometimes will be a little bit difficult, sometimes it will be cumbersome, but once you practice this, it will be just a day-to-day routine activity. So currently we have spoken about 3 main areas in under TQM tools, that is Kaizen, that is quality circles, and finally we have studied about 5S. Now let's talk about one of the most and important statistical technique, that is called 6 Sigma. This quality program was pioneered in 1980s by Motorola. Motorola is one of the leading companies with regard to telecommunication mobile providers. The aim of this approach is to achieve a reduction in the number of faults that go beyond an accepted tolerance limit through the use of statistical techniques. Please note, identify very clearly. 6 Sigma mainly concentrates about faults or defaults. Should be within a tolerance limit, within a tolerance level. where it should not go beyond the accepted tolerance limit. So therefore, statistically we will be identified very clear that the tolerance level, where to maintain the tolerance level and how to maintain the tolerance level through a statistical technique. For this we use a very popular statistical instrument which is called standard deviation. The sigma stands for standard deviation. The sixth sigma of probability is fewer than 3.4 defects in every 1 million. That refers to, that means that for every 1 million the defects rate should be lesser than 3.4 defects. So we should identify the most important TQM approach or lean management approach, that is called JIT system, that is just in time system. It is the opposite of JIC, that is called just in case. We know when we try to talk about procurement or production or inventory control systems, we sometimes have buffer stocks. We sometimes keep additional stock. Why? What is the purpose of it? That is because of just in case of a natural disaster, just in case of a default, just in case of a supplier delay, that we might be able to utilize it. However, the Japanese approach which was introduced go against this JIC system, that is the JIT. JIT is a lean production methodology. This says is a system where objective is to produce or procure, that is to purchase products or components as they are required by the customer for use. So please note, JIT, just in time approach, begins only when customer starts to order. JIT involves with production and also with purchasing, that is from the external suppliers. The following are the most important requirements for a successful JIT system. That's number one, high quality and reliability. This mainly refers to the products should be less of defects. The product should be highly reliable. In other words, the suppliers need to be reliable. We need to have a reliable on the suppliers. Once the orders are placed, without a delay, the products should come into our stores. The next one is elimination of non-value added activities. This is also lean management practices. We should not add certain activities which do not give a value to the product or to the operation. Third, speed of throughput. As we know, we do our production based on the customer orders. So therefore, every process, the process should go according to a speed. We should not delay the speed, which will end of the day will delay the entire customer order. The next one which we consider to be the flexibility. Flexibility means, here we'll take example, flexibility of employees. Employees, multitask employees are there, single task employees are there. Multitask employees are very effective for a system like JIT. And the last, or if you practice all these, automatically the lower the cost. Lower the cost means handling of inventories, when it comes lower, automatically the lower cost can be established. Students will have a small break, and after that we'll come and discuss about the advantages and disadvantages of JIT system. Welcome back. Students, we have already now discussed about the JIT system, the importance of JIT. As we know, JIT is not only involve stock control system, it also involves or helps the production and also the purchasing from external supplies. As you know, the following requirements that we have already discussed, that is high quality and reliability. Especially high quality means the defects less, and reliability means our suppliers' reliability with regard to the delivery of the products are prime important requirements in JIT. Now let's talk about the major advantages of JIT. The most important element, the most important advantage of JIT is lower cost on stock holding. As we know, there are two main costs which are involved in stocks, that is ordering cost as well as holding cost. If we can reduce the holding cost, in other words there is no buffer stock, means there is the cost holding the stock will reduce drastically, which will lead to lower cost. This advantage can be mostly passed into the customers accordingly. Also, when you do not pile up stocks, you do not keep a buffer stock, you will have less problems with stocks getting perished or obsolete. Here you will order the stocks when and where customer orders. When the production requires only, you order the stock. Therefore the stocks are in very good condition, they are not perished, they are not obsolete. These are the main two advantages. Students, there are several advantages. Please look into your study text accordingly. The limitations of JIT or the disadvantages of JIT mainly concentrates about there is less room for mistakes. As we know, JIT do not maintain buffer stocks. In case of a default or in case of a delay in deliveries, the JIT system cannot compensate. In other words, there is no buffer stocks. Sometimes this will stop production, sometimes this will hold the entire production. So that will be a point number one for a disadvantage. Point number two, it won't be suitable for all types of organization. That's correct. As we know, in supermarkets cannot have JIT system, or it's not advisable to have JIT system in our part of the world. That is, where once the product is over in the shelves, ordering and getting it faster as possible, which will sometimes lose customer confidence. So therefore, for certain industries, for certain type of organizations, when JIT is to be used, the management need to be very careful and they should identify the concerns or the consequences of the JIT. Okay, students, now as you know, now we have already discussed about operations management. Under operations management we spoke about what is quality management. Through quality management we spoke what Joseph Duran said, fitness for use. Based on that we came with the Japanese approach, which is called the TQM, the tools with pertaining to TQM, that is the Six Sigma, Kaizen, quality circles and 5S practices. After that we spoke about a very important examinable examination point of view, one of the most important area, that is the JIT system. It is a Japanese approach. They do not have buffer stocks. We spoke about it is there are certain features. We spoke about the advantages and disadvantages of JIT system. Now let's look how the examiner tests you this particular area in his examination point of view. September 2013, there is a question he checked with the students, that is describe the potential disadvantages of introducing just-in-time, that is JIT operations within a manufacturing organization. Here the examiner's main concern is disadvantages, repeating, disadvantages of introducing just-in-time. So the examiner's answers, basically he says, number one, over reliance on suppliers. Of course, when we have a over reliance on suppliers, sometimes suppliers delays can cause major problem in our operations. The next is vulnerability to outside factors. As we know, certain environmental factors which are very sensitive, such as natural disasters. So sometimes natural disasters will have certain limitations to practice just-in-time system smoothly. The third, staff and system readiness. As we know, one of the most important element is whether the staff, the humans, are ready to accept a system which is going to be introduced newly, and that is also basically a new culture. Also the systems like your software packages, are they ready to accept or are they ready to adapt the current situation? So there will be sometimes an additional investment. That's the fourth point. Additional investments which need to be invested, where we need to give proper staff training, we need to bring proper software packages to suit the new system. In addition, you also can use certain other features such as disruptions. That is, example, human involvement can lead sometimes like human issues such as strikes, labor issues, where they do not absenteeisms, etc., will have a major problem as or a disadvantage to just in time. And also the cultural upheaval, that is the just in time culture, how it is going to be adapted to the employees or inside the organization. Are they ready to adapt it? Or in other words, how organizations are going to face with regard to the JIT systems. These are the basic disadvantages pertaining to JIT. My dear students, now as we know that we have already discussed three main core areas in enterprise operation, that is human resource management, marketing management, as well as operations management. And we also discussed about a few examination questions like section A, section B, section C questions we have discussed. The most important section in our presentation is going to be how to attempt and how are you going to write an answer. That is an effective answer in a structured manner what the examiner requires. As we know, section B and C are the most unpopular, and most students will face a lot of problems with regarding to getting or to score high marks. The small advice that I need to inform or tell the students that before you go to an exam, you need to practice at least few questions, and you need to write it, and you need to cross-check these with the suggested answer of the examiner. Before you attempt to a question, just take these hints into your head. Point number one, section A is very compulsory. MCQs, 10 questions are there, and where if you know the theory, it is mostly theory based. If you know the theory, you can score a lot of marks in these section. Section B and C, it needs a lot of structured answer. Therefore, we as teachers, we always tell the students, take your answer or do your answer in such a manner that do not compromise any marks in the exam. The students, you should always understand when you are writing for section B and C, you should adhere to a structured answer. That is, you adhere for a 6-paragraph format. In other words, that does not mean it's not a hard and fast rule that you should adhere for these paragraphs, but my advice is check whether these elements are in your answer. The paragraph number 1 very clearly say from which area the answer is written. As we know, we did certain questions like the operations management JIT question, the disadvantages of JIT. Do not write at once when the examiner asks what are the disadvantages. As you know, the questions weight different marks. Based on the different marks, the value, you need to write accordingly. The first para basically says from which section, that is JIT, the importance. JIT is an important area that you need to talk, that is a part of lean management, and based on the lean management only you need to bring it to the JIT as a question, that is as an answer to the particular question. The next para mainly talks about the definition. As we know, in the exam there is a key examinable term. Now in the JIT question under operations management, the disadvantages of JIT, so you need to be very clear what is JIT should be indicated. The examiner should understand, or the objective of JIT need to be indicated in your answer or include in your answer. The third para is the most important para, which is the para which talks about the body of the question. That is, body with regard to the question, that is the body what we need to write as an answer. Now in this particular question above, we were talking about the disadvantages of JIT. The body should be the disadvantages. Disadvantages can be write as points where you elaborate each point, as the paragraph number 4 which says when you are elaborating one point, you can use practical examples or theoretical examples such as X and Y, or use more suitable practical example where you are trying to indicate the examiner that it's not only the theory that you know, even the practical approach that you can explain in the examination answer. Certain questions involved with flowcharts or diagrams as well as tables, or also arithmetical presentations. Like example, when it comes to operations management, there are lots of flowcharts, diagrams, tables or arithmetical presentations. Example, Six Sigma, standard deviation which is involved. Also like Porter's value chain analysis, which mainly concentrate about a flowchart or a flow diagram, etc. Finally, when you are trying to conclude an answer, the most important element is a conclusion. In other words, the conclusion para. Please note, this is strictly for section C or for certain section B questions. Conclusion refers to how you end your answer, how you your own conclusion, your own argument with regard to the answer. My dear students, you should always understand when you answer the above way, you need to concentrate very clearly with regard to the marking, with regard to the number of marks what the examiner have allocated. Please strictly adhere to the number of marks. Do not write too much. Do not go outside the topic. Do not go outside the track. And you need to always focus the correct terms, the correct examples, and try to be very specific on your answer. Try to do your level best. Do not try to compare yourself with another. If you try to do so, you will underestimate yourself. Thank you very much for joining us.